Good vibes, bringing only good vibes. Island vibes, strong island vibes. It's your boy Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, Long Island Changemakers. And one of the things about Long Island Changemakers is I reach out to the community and I say to folks at the end of the show, there's a graphic and it says, if you're interested in being on the show, you should reach out to me. And one of these things is one of my very good buddies, my close friend James Young from Spirit of Huntington, reached out to me the other day, sent me a note. It was like maybe 2-3 weeks ago actually it was. And he's like, Tommy D, I want to talk about Long Island Changemakers. There's some cool stuff going on, and I'd like to come on the show. So James Young, creative director, Spirit of Huntington Arts Center, is my guest today. I always say on the show, James, that the folks that I meet with are leaders on the island. Sometimes they're involved in business, sometimes they're involved in nonprofit, sometimes they're involved in both. One of the things you'd reached out to me about, though, we'll get into Spirit of Huntington and your role and kind of the history there. But you'd reached out to me about the great work that you and Time Traveling Trio are doing, the band that gets involved in raising money for nonprofit organizations. So
that's right.
Right. So first of all, glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. Yeah, I had to reach out once I saw what you were doing, the episodes that you were putting out. You know, you get so much great insight, like if you're watching these kind of things just from not only the business world, but the nonprofit world. You know, like everybody has a story to tell.
Yeah.
Every business, you know, it's just, and that's the problem with like marketing today is, you know, like, people think that they just have to like sell a product, or that they have to get something in front of people's faces. They're not concerned about the storytelling that goes behind that. They're not afraid of, they don't want to tell the message. But what we've come to realize is that that's like the most important message of all is
the storytelling.
You know, the story. Yeah.
Well, I love
Everybody has a story. Every business has a story. You know, every person. There's like a whole like plethora of things that they've gone through in life that got them to where they are, and that's what people care about. Everybody's like, nobody wants to hear my story, but that is everybody. 100%.
Yeah. And I started this show and the other show, Philanthropy and Focus, with just that in mind. There used to be a program I used to watch on A&E, which was like a cable channel. I don't even know if it's around anymore, but it was called Biography, and it was just a show. It would be like the story of Milton Hershey, or the story of Carnegie or Henry Ford, and I love that. And they were particularly like people who became successful and built businesses and stuff like that. Right. But I think you're right, 100%. Everybody has a story, and I got to set this up a little bit because I get to go out to the world and talk about how Spirit of Huntington and the team are our Vanguard Benefits outsourced marketing team. And you know, you and I have a relationship on different levels. I mean, while I'm out doing Vanguard stuff, I'm texting you videos of us doing cool things because you and your team support us from a marketing perspective. And it is so important, storytelling.
Yeah, no, definitely, and in a lot of different ways too. And I mean, that doesn't mean that you can't like actually, you know, be a business and like sell a product.
Of course.
But it's always about the way that you go about it. At the core of it, it's about getting a message in front of eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what we strive to do is like, what's the best message? How can I like convey this message in a way that it like touches the heartstrings of people? And you know, I mean, I don't think I have it like completely figured out yet at 29 years old, but this is like my lifelong mission is just to not only help our organization, not only help the people that we support every single day at Spirit of Huntington, but to also reach out to other nonprofits in a way where it helps their mission and they could continue to support their people, you know.
Yeah, I do know, and I get to see it as a board member at Spirit of Huntington Arts Center, and certainly the way I connected with Spirit of Huntington, as you know, through the Lindy Lou Foundation, and I always joke about Michael Katakis and I first met because I had a check for $1,500 for him from the Lindy Lou.
That's what got you to meet.
And that's how you get to meet friends. I tell you this, gang, if you want to make a new friend, and you bring him a check. That's how. That's how it is.
Yeah, there's no.
that's a good way to do it, you know. But let's talk about storytelling. Let's talk about. Why don't we talk about, you know, you and what you've been through, and then get that into like how Spirit of Huntington really started with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I promise. I know you asked about time travel.
We're going to get to the time traveling trio. Well, if we have to travel time to get there, I promise we will get it in. We'll get it into the conversation.
Absolutely. So right now I serve as the creative director. Basically what I do, I'm the brains and the creative vision behind every single thing that happens at the center. So everything that you see that comes from Spirit of Huntington, you know, every event that's planned, everything that we do for our clients always has to start out with some sort of strategy, some sort of way. So I do produce a lot of it, but I also, you know, I leave a lot of that to my team. You know, we're lucky to be working with the neurodiverse population to not only help them gain, you know, the skills that you need for employment, but to also do that in a way where they could fund their passions. You know?
Yeah.
But what we realize, you know, like, is that a lot of people or a lot of the things that I've gone through in life have kind of gotten me to where I am now.
Tell me about some of that stuff that you've gone through.
For sure. So I'll start everything off just by saying at the age of 8, I was diagnosed on the autism spectrum, which, you know, I think at the time it was referred to as high functioning autism. Now it's just autism spectrum disorder. You know, our people were known as neurodivergent now. You know, I don't know what the DSM says, but yeah, so at the time, you know, like getting diagnosed with that, I was doing everything that I can, like throughout elementary school, middle school, to fight that, you know. I wanted to fight
the diagnosis or fight
to fight the diagnosis. You know, I was a little bit like in disbelief of that originally.
Sure.
And I wanted to, you know, fit in with the cool kids.
We just want to fit in. We all want to fit in at all. Totally, right? Yeah.
I didn't know any better, so, you know, like, I mean, like, I had friends who were like neurotypical at the time. You know, neurotypical meaning they don't have a diagnosis. And, you know, I was doing everything that I can to just like fit in with them, but I couldn't help, like, as I was like hanging out with like different groups of people and, you know, going through middle school, going through high school, as everybody does. You know, I was really struggling socially on the inside. You know, being around people was just like always very draining. It was hard for me to like have conversations, look people in the eye. You know, I think I'm doing better at that now.
You're doing a great job right now, man. And I'm glad. I mean, but maybe it's just. Maybe there's some level of connection and it's who you know, and we you know, we're friends, so we know each other a long time. But
absolutely.
But that's many young people struggle with that, and you know, it's.
Yeah, and you don't see it on the outside a lot. That's the thing, is that, you know, like someone may look like they're not going through anything. I mean, right now, like, I'm able to like talk to you and all that kind of stuff. But what's going on the inside, right? In this place, you know, it's way different.
Trust me, I have my own neurodiversity, so I with my ADHD, a lot of proliferation. I get caught up on some things from time to time, and I didn't have a diagnosis of that at 8 years old. I got it about 3 or 4 years ago, so I didn't know. I used to think I was lazy. I used to think I just don't get things done. When I talk to my therapist, we go into like where I would get really down on myself about that stuff. Like I would have terrible things to say about myself and get caught up in these whirlwinds.
Absolutely.
But not knowing that I was quote unquote different, whatever, I always just thought I was a loser. I don't finish things. I leave projects. I start them. I don't get them done, and that's terrible for the ego and things like that.
No, it's terrible, and you can't keep beating yourself up like that. You know? A lot of people, you know, a lot of very successful people have used their disability to their advantage. I think in a lot of ways, you know, like we work with all these different nonprofit organizations who offer like day programs, you know, like habilitation programs where they're actively working with people with disabilities. We find that like the best people suited for that job are people who have gone through it themselves, people who like grew up with autism and understand the population. And I think what makes me a unique person to do the things that I do every day as a creative director is that I understand the population. I understand the things that they're going through, and I think that uniquely qualifies me. Not just me, but also the people on our team. You know?
Of
like,
course.
Sure, we have a diagnosis, and sure, you know, like maybe like being autistic, you know, makes certain things harder, like on the social side of things. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to get work done.
100%. And I think this, to your point, and I know this from myself and other people, there's such ability there. And the thing I've always said about Spirit of Huntington is this, and I say it, if not every other day, definitely a bunch of times a week. Specifically as it relates to artworks, which hopefully we'll get into some more about artworks, but it's specifically that program and the population of individuals with IDD, intellectual developmental disabilities, having such a high percentage of not being employed. The thing there, to me, that's strictly about, not about ability, but about accessibility, and as a society, not focusing enough on what people are good at. Because I say this all the time, not to be funny or self-deprecating, but I suck at a we things. Like I'm good at like 4 or 5.
We can't all be good at everything, you know?
Right, you know, but the reason of saying that, like, is if we all focus on the things we're not good at, then we would say, well, that person can't do anything. But if we zone in, and I think artworks is a perfect example of that, zone in on what somebody really is good at and what their zone of brilliance is, well, then we can get that person to active employment. That's how I always felt about that.
I agree. I mean, it's a glass half full, half empty kind of scenario where, you know, and I mean, that just goes with life, you know, just in general. Like, and I think the high unemployment rate, which, you know, I think is like 85% of people who are neurodiverse are unemployed. I could drink this on.
So you could drink it. That's why it's there. Cool. I hope it is. It good? You enjoying it?
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I just didn't know if I could drink it on camera, but no,
I drink it all day because I'm thirsty.
For sure. So. Two things I think contribute to that very high unemployment rate. I think one of them is that social skills have a certain way of determining your worth in life. And
how you can interact with people, you mean?
Exactly, for sure. And unfortunately, society, and I guess this is my second point, is that society isn't really set up for people who think differently, who act differently, to succeed in an environment. You know.
Do you think we're going there, though?
I think we're definitely, I think the more conversations that we have about neurodiversity, I think the more conversations that we have about mental health in general, and I think we're definitely in a better place. You know, now than we were like even, you know, like 10 years ago.
Which is like a minute ago, right, in history, but that's how fast it can change. And by no means have we solved the problem, but I think the way I look at the world, James, is I think the more compassion and the more love and the more we can put our hand out and help people and make that connection, you know who I am, the nonprofit sector connector, the whole thing, but like that to me is when we can greet each other with that love and connection versus like how are we different or what. No, man, it's about like how can I help, man? What do you need? Like that's a big part of what I think it is.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, being a psychology major in college, you know that the first thing that they debunk you on is that opposites do not attract. Everybody likes to say opposites attract, but we are far more likely to communicate with somebody or like form friendships, form relationships with people who have similar interests to us. And beyond just being a place where creative expression can transform lives internally, we see that a lot of the students who are just very self-isolated. I mean, loneliness plays a really huge part in being on the autism spectrum, and not everybody presents as lonely. Not everybody presents as like, oh, this person doesn't want to make friends because they can't or they're able to. But like everybody wants to like feel a connection. Everybody wants to feel connected. And aside from just offering classes, art, music programs, digital art programs, and artworks. What's really important is the community that's out there. You know, it's about being in an immersive class, a hands-on class where you're getting to know the teacher, but you're also getting to know the other people in the class. So we've seen a lot of friendships form just on the basis of being a community art center.
So let's talk about the community art center piece too, because like so you and I know the place. It's your place. You're there every day, right? I'm there as often as I can be, but some people don't know the history. Let's go back to the garage on 25A real quick. Could you do that?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Spirit of Huntington, it was founded in 2011 by an artist based in Huntington. His name was Eric Price, who himself also was on the autism spectrum. You know, he was born in the 70s, so at the time the research wasn't, you know, like, there wasn't enough research to really like have a formal diagnosis. So he didn't know what was going on with himself until he was about 30, you know, like we all have struggles and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, and that's what I realized, like with a lot of people like who have autism, you know, who are in their 50s and 60s, is they didn't get a diagnosis until like more research came out about it. Eric he's a very talented artist.
Sure is.
Yeah, his pieces have been featured, you know, probably in like 80 to 100 museums at this point. You know, very talented, fantastic teacher when we started and all that great stuff. He wanted to create a center. This was back in 2011. He wanted to create a place where people of all abilities can feel welcome, can take a class. You know, they could not feel judged or pressured into like doing things a certain way. You know, and his vision was to create an art center where people don't have to, you know, like, because art can be like a very intimidating thing for a lot of people. A lot of people think that you have to like paint a Picasso to like get into, you know, like an art school or be an admired artist, and that is absolutely not the case. You look at people like Jackson Pollock, who would, you know, just splat paint onto a canvas, and you know that was their art, and he was a millionaire artist at the time doing that kind of stuff. So we realized that art is for everybody. It doesn't matter. what you do technically doesn't matter, like the technicality of your piece, like is it complex, is it simple? What matters more is the thought that's put into it. And I think that's the thing about art. It's less about what people put into it and more about what people get out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that was Eric's vision, as well as my current boss, Mike Katakis, who we've mentioned
Yes.
multiple times during this interview. Michael originally, I'm trying to think exactly what happened, but something happened, and Michael and Eric got together.
Yeah.
They formed this art center, this art studio, which was basically a dilapidated gas station. No central heat, no nothing.
How many
basically.
students?
3.
Yeah.
I was one of those students.
You?
It was me.
Michael D.
Michael's son.
Katakis?
Yeah,
right?
Michael D. Katakis, Michael Katakis' son.
Right.
And my brother. It was just 3 people doing this program called Artists Come Alive, which has been there since the very beginning.
Still a program to this day.
It's still a program to this day. And the way that it works is we learn about a famous artist. We study their style, we talk about their style, a little bit about their personal life, and then the rest of the class, they're creating a project based on that style.
So it's each week, every session, it's a new artist, is that correct?
Correct. Every session, it's a new artist. So we change it up every week, and they learn about a different artist. Like, you know, we do anything from, you know, the famous Picasso, Van Gogh, Frida Kahlo, Andy Warhol, to some more obscure artists, which I'm kind of blanking on right now.
That's cool. It's all good. I've never sat through that.
Yeah.
I would love to sign up for Artists Come Alive. I gotta plug into that.
I do too. Every time I'm working upstairs, I kind of just want to like go down.
You want to go down there?
You know, take a class.
That's a perfect segue. What's upstairs? Tell me about upstairs.
Yeah. So upstairs, we do the digital art program, which is called Artworks, where we. You know, for a while we were doing like the visual art downstairs through the Artists Come Alive program. But when Michael came on full time, moving from his marketing agency over to the Spirit of Huntington, working on the Spirit of Huntington as a nonprofit organization full time, one of the things that he wanted to do was bring the stuff that he was good at, which was marketing, doing graphic design, doing video production, in a way where it helps populations that could benefit from it. Specifically, people who are neurodiverse, people who have developmental disabilities. We realize a lot of those students have passions, right? A lot of the people who enter this program have passions. And the passion is where everything starts, right? Because if you know what it is that you want to do, you're going to do everything that you can in your ability. You're going to overcome your challenges. You're going to learn the necessary things that you need to know to do that one thing. That's pretty much what we realized was happening in the Artists Come Alive class, and we carried that over to the digital art. We were like, you know, if we could make lives different, you know, with a pen and a paper, you know, or crayons and a paper, we can do it through the computer as well. Yeah. So 6 years ago, we started Artworks, which is a program which has you know, kind of skyrocketed ever since then. Yeah. We offer graphic design classes, we offer video production classes, we offer animation classes, we offer social media classes, all the things that you would need to know to kind of work into today's world of, like, you know, in the digital world, I should say.
I love that, and I tell you, as a board member and as, you know, a donor through the Lindy Lou Foundation, that is definitely my favorite part of Spirit of Huntington. And as a client, Vanguard Benefits being a client, I love the fact, as I continue to say, it's about not about ability, but it's about accessibility. That's my argument there, right? And I always love to say that, you know, our Vanguard Benefits, our outsourced marketing team, is a group of neurodivergent individuals who are doing incredible work, right? And
it is.
Right? I mean, you all did our mission, vision, value. I think about a young man named Jacob who works on the Vanguard account.
That's awesome.
And when I met Jacob's parents, it's just like, he told me, oh my God, his parents said, Jacob works on the Vanguard account, and we get to meet Jacob, and it's just so special, you know, and that to me is not like, there's not like a step down in the work that you provide us. It's high quality work, and it's where people are in their flow, right? They're in their space, you know?
Exactly.
So that's, you know, there's plenty of creators of major companies out there who have different abilities, neurodivergent, neurodiverse, IDD, whatever we want to use the terminology. Just, it's that let's pour into people where they're good. And that program certainly is my favorite. And selfishly, I want to just kind of shout out the Lindy Lou Foundation, because Lindy
That was another
Lou.
one.
Well, because that's all the computers upstairs. Were donations up. The whole artworks was tricked out with those Mac computers. And when I get to go there and I see the Lindy Lou butterfly, and then you all did the Lindy Lou website and did our mission, vision, value, and redid that. So, it's very symbiotic, this relationship. So I got to tell you, to you directly, I'm very grateful that you reached out to me and said, Tommy D, I think I should come on this show. And I'm like, dude, 100%, let's go.
Get the word out for sure.
So tell me about the band, because we're going to do something with the band. We're going to do something here in studio later next week, actually.
We are going to do something with the band.
So tell me about the band. What's this band all about?
Of course. So the Time Traveling Trio, we're actually going to have to change our name pretty soon because we have 4 people now. I just did a...
No, now it's 8. It's getting bigger.
It might be one day. We'll see what happens. So we... I've been playing in bands my whole life, and that's great. You get to write music. It's a very fulfilling thing for me. But I think at a point I was wondering how do I take that to the next level? So in addition to everything I talked about with art and learning how to do art, learning how to do digital design and all that kind of stuff, I was also learning music at the same time. I picked up the guitar when I was 14, and ever since then it's just been a second nature for me. It's been my go-to outlet. I learned how to play different instruments. I played in bands throughout high school and in college, and I'm kind of at a point right now where I'm trying to figure out how to tie this hobby that I have, which is music, into my career, working in the world of nonprofits, or working as a creative in the world of nonprofits. So I teamed up with a couple of other guys. There's 2 Joes, right? So Joe C, I've known him since the 4th grade. We've been playing in pretty much every band together.
Is that right? What does Joe play?
Joe plays the bass.
Oh, he does.
He's a bass guitarist.
Got it.
And Joe R, he's the singer of the band. He sings and plays the cajon, which is basically a drum.
Okay.
It's like a drum box. If you have an acoustic setup, you'll know what that is. But recently we got Brian to delegate percussion responsibilities to me. So
he plays full drum set, or he plays a cajon thing?
He plays a cajon. It's kind of like a whacked out cajon where there's cymbals and all that kind of stuff. So you'll get to see it. It'll be this Thursday night coming up for sure. Yeah. For sure. So we were playing a couple of shows for a good amount of time. I just started with these guys maybe about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Originally, Joe R was auditioning different guitar players and bass players. Me and Joe, because we've been in bands together, we just got out of a 7-year relationship with our previous band, Bowtie Fridays.
Got it. Yes,
which is kind of what it feels like. But
well, that's what it's like, because it's like a family situation, right?
Where, for sure. It's family. Yeah. I mean, this has been an outlet not only for me musically, not only am I doing my passion by playing in these bands, but I'm also making friendships,
I love that.
Lifelong friendships, and really it is just as social for me as it is vocational for me.
Yeah.
Doing this kind of stuff.
How does that connect? Because I know there's a connection to nonprofits, and you did a show.
We did.
And I saw you guys were on News 12.
We were on News 12.
Yeah.
We teamed up with the Long Island Coalition for the Homeless.
Oh, sure.
We played a show at this really awesome place in Lindenhurst, Riptides.
Okay.
Shout out to them. They have the nicest staff you'll ever find.
Is that right? It's
over
awesome.
at Riptides in Lindenhurst. We raised dozens of food products and donations
for the Long Island Coalition for the Homeless.
For the Long Island Coalition for the Homeless.
Yeah.
And that not only helped us at that particular show to just get more awareness out about it. It went beyond the cross promotion. Between the Long Island Coalition of the Homeless and our band, the Time Traveling Trio, soon to be Quartet. Quartet.
We're gonna have to come up with a whole new name. I got to be honest with you. I've been telling everybody that the Time Traveling Trio is playing, and they got 4 members. Look, I'm not in your band, but I don't think you should change the name, because I think it's even funnier that it's not a trio, it's a quartet, but you call it a trio. I like that kind of wordplay and stuff like that. So that's kind of cute,
There was Ben Folds, he was a musician. Back in
Ben
the
Folds
90s.
5.
Ben Folds 5. It was just 3 people.
Is that? Were there only 3 people?
There weren't 5 people in it.
I didn't even know that.
He just liked the way that Ben Folds 5 sounded.
So you guys are fine.
Yeah, we're fine. If Ben Folds could do it.
Exactly.
Exactly. So what we're looking to do with Time Traveling Trio, we're just looking to partner with as many charities charities as we can, help out as many nonprofit organizations.
So what does that mean exactly? Does that mean you want to play shows? Like, and do you guys not get paid to do a show, or do you give a portion?
So we want to play shows. You know, we're at a point right now where we all have full-time jobs. You know, we really don't. We could do without this money. Like, it doesn't have to like completely go to us. I mean, yeah, it's always nice to like get a couple of $100 from a gig, but you know, like that's money that could be better spent helping out people who really need it.
I love that.
Nonprofit organizations. So really, what we are striving to do is like have purpose-driven concerts where,
dude, that's
we're
right.
not only playing.
Speaking my language. Speaking my language. I say this in we talk in nonprofit. You have time, treasure, and talent. Right? Time. You volunteer, right? Treasure, those folks who can write small checks, who write big checks, right? And then there's talent. And you're taking one of your talents and rolling that forward and giving that opportunity. I mean, just like when you called me about the show, when you called me to come on the show, I said to you, dude, why don't you guys play at this thing we're doing? So when we have this event, which is going to be puppies and pours. So it's going to be my friend bringing the puppies, my friend bringing the wine, my friend bringing the music, and then it's just going to be a great party here at the studio. So that type of stuff is coming out of just you and me shooting the breeze, saying let's do this. So how does somebody get involved if they want to call you guys up or follow you and say, look, I want you guys to do a show, I want to collaborate, maybe you want to do a show at this nonprofit? What do they do? Who do they reach out to?
Well, we're still figuring that out. I mean, I got to start like practicing what I preach about. Like you have to get the word out there. You have to have a website, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. So we do not have a website currently. We do have an Instagram, Time Traveling Trio Music, or at Time Traveling Trio Music.
Yep.
And you could reach out to us anytime, any nonprofit, or you could just call me over at the Spirit of Huntington. I'm there every day. So
I love
if it's a time traveling trio related thing, just call me over at Spirit of Huntington.
I love that.
We'll make something work.
And listen, it's like the shoemaker's shoes. You know that phrase. You got to get your own website. If not, you got to have your team at Spirit make a website for Time Traveling Trio.
That is true. I might put them on the.
You might put, but you know what it is. I got to ask your opinion on this because I don't even know if people need a full website anymore. Like you got an Instagram, you got a TikTok, you got maybe a Facebook and a LinkedIn if it's appropriate. I guess you have to have. You feel you need to have some kind of website?
I think you need a place to like house all of it.
Yeah.
I think the more platforms, the better. So I was talking a lot about the digital art program and what we do, and I'll make this quick. But
you're good.
Yeah. So in addition to the classes that we offer, we also have an agency, and the agency is basically similar to the stuff that any Madison Avenue like marketing, like company, a big marketing company would do, where we promote things through social media, websites, and like our motto is through our synchronicity program, which is what we call it. Everything goes around this wheel. So it goes on your website. The same story goes out on your website, goes on your blog, goes on Facebook, goes on Instagram, goes on TikTok, goes on in an email blast. So I think the more avenues you have, the better. So
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Katakis, I know you're watching this. He saw me, and I saw that synchronicity thing upstairs. Before upstairs was artwork, when it was New Vision Media.
New Media, yeah.
New Media. Michael and I had talked about that. So I've been hearing about synchronicity for like the last 10 or 12 years. So we're running out of time. James, I appreciate you. I appreciate friendship. Appreciate you, all you're doing for the nonprofit sector. And I love that we meet bi-weekly to talk about the Vanguard stories, because you guys do a great job working on that. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. I appreciate you all checking in for another episode of Long Island Changemakers. We do this every week. There's going to be some information at the end of the show here if you want to reach out to me, connect. Maybe you have somebody who wants to get on the show just like James did and just reached out to me. Appreciate you all. This has been another In Focus production. Thanks.